Greetings, everybody. I'm John Cogswell. I'm on the board of the NECCF. Thanks again to Chris from Serenova for the prior presentation. The next presentation is Realizing a Connected Digital Experience, 5 actions for your contact center. And you're lucky you're getting a twofer. We're going to have 2 presenters, Zach Taylor and Rob McDougall. And I'd just like to introduce them briefly. Zach is the director for Cisco Global Contact Center. And Zach is, his team is located in Iselin, New Jersey. Thank you. In his role, he's responsible for planning, development, and communication of a group of business relevant solutions based on Cisco's contact center portfolio. And prior responsibilities included roles in Avaya's global sales channel, where he was global account manager in the financial services area, obviously including the banking industry. He's also was involved in integration solutions, their integrated solutions organization, and he's also a principal for the firm's Customer Contact Council. He also blogs actively, so make sure you look him up. So that's our first presenter, Zach Taylor. Rob McDougall, our second presenter, is President and CEO of Upstream Works. Rob is an accomplished contact center leader and catalyst for change with a track record raising industry awareness of first call resolution for enhanced agent and customer experience. We all want first call resolution. Rob leads the strategic vision and operations of the company with a continued focus on omni-channel innovation and a passion for exceeding partner and customer expectations. So we look forward to hearing from both of them, and Zach's going to be up first. Zach? Yep.
All right, thank you, everyone. I'd like to have you view this presentation in 2 pieces. I'm going to be the why, and Rob is going to be the how. All right, so think of that way. The first thing I'd like to do is start with a question, and I hope there's, you'll know why I'm asking this based on the venue, okay? I'm going to show you a picture here in about 15 seconds, and I want you to tell me when you see this picture, just shout out if you're familiar with the situation, and you might arguably be based on where we're at. What is your emotional response to this picture? And here's the picture. How does that picture make you feel? Does anybody know? All right. David, how does that make you feel? It makes me feel terrific, right? Anybody else have any visceral reactions to this picture at all? Everybody know what that is? Back there, please. Say again?
A lot of emotion.
A lot of emotion on both sides of the equation, exactly. If you're Ricardo Lockett's family, you're still talking this down, right? The Seahawks receiver that ran the poor route. And if you're Malcolm Butler's family, you're still celebrating that wonderful heads-up play and anticipating what he should have done, right? And so basically, our point, the point in the why part of this discussion is that there's no such thing as a neutral interaction with an organization. Every interaction that you have with an organization, particularly in customer care, either moves the needle backwards or forwards. And so I want you to keep that in mind as we discuss. All right, so I'd like to use a definition that's based upon Albert Einstein's concept that everything should be as simple as it can be and no simpler. So this is Mike Wittenstein. He's someone I have a lot of respect for. And he said, what is the definition of customer experience? And if you go into Wikipedia and you stick that in, you're going to get a mouthful. Customer experience is the sum total of all the interactions of someone's impressions over a lifetime. I was like, whoa, that's a lot. What does it net out, though? And I like the way Mike says this. He says, customer experience is based upon an equation. I call it 4 + 2 = feel, right? Number 4, number 2 = feel. It's what a company does for you, what its processes do to you, and then therefore how it makes you feel. Right? How does it feel to be a customer of that organization? Anybody here with an insurance company at all? Okay. Just so you know, you're in what's called a negative industry. Do you know what that means? That means that people only use your product when something goes what? Wrong. If you've ever looked at the highest NPS scores or customer SAT scores done by any third party, do you notice who's always leading in those? It's typically people that serve food. Starbucks, Wegmans, right? Why? Because you have a visceral, tangible reaction to that. It makes you feel good. If you look at the top 20 in the Temkin reports, there's only one company that slides in there that doesn't make food, and that's USAA. Everybody else is Wegmans, HEB, and all that. So we have to be very aware of where our starting point is. So once again, what a company does for you, what its processes do to you, and then therefore, how does that make you feel? The good news is there's a lot of opportunity in customer care contact center to do things that help people feel better about doing business with you. And on the other side of that coin, there's a lot of things that historically haven't been solved there. And that's going to be the part that Rob's going to talk about, the how, right? And if you look here, this is from Temkin Associates. I have no association with Bruce Temkin Associates, except I have a lot of respect for him. He used to be the head researcher at Forrester. He broke off and he created his own research firm, and he does great data gathering, and he comes up. And basically, I put the Seahawks helmet on one side and the Patriots helmet on the other. But he associated this here with what are the emotions you feel about doing business with people. If you look at the top, there's words like angry, appreciated, confident, confused, disappointed, excited, frustrated, happy, relieved, and worried. I remember way back when I did some work at Bell Labs, we actually knew that in the ring cycle, there were 6 emotions people had. The ring cycle is every 5.7 seconds. This is back when, every call, most calls or contacts were voice. And you can go from the first ring where you're excited to deal with a company to the 6th ring that you're frustrated. So it's interest, it's excitement, interest. The 3rd ring was neutrality. The 4th ring was concern. The 5th ring was frustration, and the 6th ring was anger. And that was back in 1995. Think about that now when we have these hair trigger experiences with consumers, right? And expectations are higher than ever. So the typical life cycle of customer emotions, what we're finding is that customer care is just one piece of an overall life cycle of interactions, or how customers are viewing how they engage with organizations. Care is just one piece of it. We have an old saying that you can't say there's a hole in the boat, don't worry, it's not on my side. If you have a great contact center and you have someplace else in your value chain, your digital value chain, that lets customers down, you're only as good as your weakest link. Therefore, we all talked about things like journeys and mapping and that, so we're looking at the holistic way we're serving customers. Now, we live in this world of digital transformation, and that's a mouthful, and everybody says, I know it when I see it. What is it? Well, digital transformation essentially says using technology to help serve customers better. That's about as simple as it gets. But one of the thoughts was a few years ago that the contact center or customer care would be a casualty of digital transformation. We are going to automate the contact center out of business. And that's a lofty goal, and I've actually met with companies that is their goal. What they're finding is that reduction in voice contacts is happening, but it's happening albeit very slowly. And by the way, what's left over is incredibly important, because it's those exceptions that people can't automate. So in the old days, what did we do? We did one thing 1,000,000 times. The contact center, rinse, repeat, rack, stack, and queue. Now, the contact center actually does 1,000,000 things one time. Why you need top-shelf software and information and context to serve customers, because what's coming off of those automated interactions that can't be completely handled are exceptions that are the difference between your business and a potential lost customer. So the contact center, in my estimation, and it's not because it butters my bread, is that it's more important than ever, and it's not actually a casualty of digital transformation. It is probably the most important piece. I wrote a blog in February called The Digital Goalkeeper. I was over in London. I was watching a soccer match of all things. I have to call it football over there, and I was looking down the field. And I said, you know what? The contact center is like that goalkeeper. If the ball goes across the midcourt in a soccer match, nobody really notices. You got your defenders up there, right? If it gets past the second group of defenders, people in the stands start to notice, but when it gets past the goalie, who knows? Everyone. Think of the contact center as the digital backstop of the business, because those first 2 layers of defense are going to be AI, bots, and other things, self-service, all those things. We're going to really try and add all that value to them. But there will be things that will not be able to be automated, and when they come into the care center, they need tremendous bits of information, insight, and context. So, what happens today? We have a notion of disconnected journeys, lack of context, and high levels of customer effort. So what do we want to do? We want to basically solve this through what we refer to as a connected digital experience. You know, vendors like to sell nouns, customers buy verbs. So we were sitting there one day and we said, what are people really looking for when they want to serve their customers? They're looking to connect to them. They're looking to do it in a digital manner, web, chat, email, voice, right? And they're trying to get at an experience or an outcome. So that's the mantra of what we do at Cisco and with our partners is to try to create connected digital experiences. Verbs, not nouns, right? Not products or boxes, but things that produce outcomes. So with that being said, Rob is going to help me here describe actually 5 areas of frustration to attack. If you haven't read the book, The Low Effort Experience by Matt Dixon, it was written about 4 years ago. It's still valid. And essentially it says if you want loyalty from your customers, don't focus on the aha moment. Don't focus on going overboard for them or the delight. That's too expensive and it's not sustainable. Focus on ease of use. And he identified 5 areas that are prevalent in most customer care situations that exist that are low-hanging fruit that can really be solved very easily and have high levels of delight for customers. The first is institutional memory. Contact centers are like inviting someone to your house for dinner, and when they show up, you say, "Why are you here?" Right? If you invited one of your old friends, right, to your house and they open the door and you say, "Who are you?" You would say, "Well, I'm your friend. You invited me for dinner." We do that in care centers. We identify. So authentication is a big issue. So remember who I am, remember my relationship with you, and don't make me repeat myself as I move around if I have to. The second thing is agent retention. The old algorithm, a retained agent equals a retained customer. If your turnovers are high, it's going to show, right? So you have to do things to make your resources who are fighting that digital, they're the digital goalkeepers or the ambassadors for your business. They have to be retained because there is a direct correlation to retained customers. Third is that we don't want multiple contacts to solve the same issue. That's the whole FCR mantra, right? We took all the averages, average speed of this, average delay, max, all those things, and we rolled them up into a sausage statistic called FCR. And that says, can you completely solve my problem on the first try? And that is also a big delight. And the third is channel switching with context. If I have to go from one channel to the other, my 91-year-old mother-in-law lives with me. Did I tell you, for 18 years, okay? And it's a delight. I tried to help open up a Roth IRA with her a few weeks ago in a company that advertises on TV with a spokesperson who spends hundreds of millions of dollars on advertising. It could not have been more punitive. And I said, how could she have done this if I could? It took me 13 days to get a simple Roth opened up. Between the departments and 2 sides of this business being transferred around with people who there were do-overs everywhere, lack of context. I'm like, this is 2017. That's amazing. I said they should have spent the money not on advertising, but they should have invested in the back office systems and the front office software to take that. And then finally, just high levels of customer effort, right? So if you walk into a cocktail party and you're early and you look over and there's Bill Gates standing there, on average you're a billionaire, right? That is also a fallacy of numbers of averages. But what Bill Gates and you both have the same amount of is time. And so anything you can do to save customers time is a big winner. And when you reduce effort and save time, there's a universality to that is a big winner for customers. So with that, I'd like to have Rob come up. Go back to my handoff slide here. And I'm from Cleveland, by the way, so it's very hard for me to put Tom Brady up there because they stole Belichick from us in 1994. So Rob, thank you, and tell them about the why after the how.
Thanks, Zach.
All right.
Okay, so we know a little bit about what you're trying to achieve with your customers. Let's look at what are the things you can do to actually get there. And, you know, people talk about managing the customer experience, right? You can't manage your customer. You can manage the customer's experience by managing the agents and the processes that you're using to deliver out to those customers. And what affect those agents and what they do is all the tools and capabilities that you have internally. So look at 5 things. These are the things that you can do. And what I applied here, there was an old feature benefits thing called because of something you can, which means. So I've broken this down into basically 3 different slides, right? So the things that you should do. Give agents one unified interface. Okay, I'm not talking the single pane of glass. The single pane of glass is mythical. I don't think it's going to be achievable. You don't want to have monolithic applications that do everything. What you want is you want an application that the agents can deal with your customers in that can then leverage your legacy applications so that you're actually getting something that's achievable. Right? You don't want to be boiling the ocean, replacing everything under the sun. So the other thing you want to do is integrate systems and data across the business. You have all these different business silos and data silos, bring them together on the agent's desktop through integration so that they have the information they need at the point that they need that information when a customer is on the call. The next thing is people look at, customers are phoning you and they get a level of service because there's certain things you have around phone calls that you're dealing with, certain processes, certain capabilities. But then a customer emails you and you get a different department, you get a different set of capabilities, the agent doesn't have access to the same tools, it's harder to do that job because you've spent a lot of money and integrated your voice system into your contact center, into your business. An email is an Outlook page that they're going to look at that has no integration anywhere. So if you normalize the interaction, separate the interaction type, is it a phone call, an email, a chat, an SMS? Separate that from the business need that you're trying to meet, okay? So that you can then meet that business need and it doesn't matter how interactions are coming in. And then as you add new interactions, because they're normalized, all those tools inherit across and you don't end up putting back in more silos. The other thing, and we've been talking about this for, at this point, 10 years, track every interaction. You know, the number of times that I've talked to people and they say, well, we're measuring the number of cases we have in CRM, and I say, well, did the number of cases you have in your CRM match the number of phone calls that your CDR system and your phone system tracked? Well, no, it never does, right? Track every interaction that you have with your customers, because the only thing worse than data that's wrong is data that's incomplete. If you're tracking the information of every interaction that comes in, whether it's a phone call or whether it's email, then you've got the seeds, the breadcrumbs to be able to start to reconstruct that customer journey. And the last thing is very often people will track the skill that an email has routed to or that a phone call is routed to. But have the agent track what the contact was about, okay? The customer knows why they're contacting you. And, you know, talking of institutional memory, you want the agents to be able to understand why they're contacting you and the next agent to be able to see why they contacted you historically. Okay? So track the reason for the interaction. And by the way, your customers, if you're, you know, who here in a contact center has at the end of a call, an agent says, is there anything else I can help you with? Right? That's a fairly common thing. Well, that's a whole second reason, right? So you want to understand that second reason, because if I call you and I talk to you about changing my address and then you say, is there anything else? Oh, yeah, I had a billing issue. And then you ask about a billing issue and you don't track those as separate interactions, how do you track first contact resolution? Because I may call you back because you now don't resolve my billing issue, but you've not kept a record of it. So track a reason for the interactions that you're tracking. So with those, you can get much more of a continuous customer experience. Okay, what you're going to be able to deliver back to an agent is the context of all of those interactions across all the channels. You're going to be able to better understand the processes that you're using, and you're going to be able to give the agent better and more consistent tools to be able to feed that back to the customer. In a contact center, you know, it is often treated like another area of the business from an application point of view. And to be able to go look at something, the information's there, right? I can scroll down, I can find the link, I can click on the link, it opens up another web page, and I can scroll down and find the information I want. So it's available. An agent does that 60 times a day, over and over and over. That doesn't work. What happens is the agents don't do it. So give them the information and the context they need for all the different channels so they've got consistent information, so that if I'm on a chat or I'm on a phone call, what that agent knows about me, about the number of contacts and interactions that I've had with you and the channels that I've had with you, and what happened on those channels and those interactions, and how that information accesses your back-end systems, the agent knows about. okay? Removing channel and data silos. So customer satisfaction in the late 90s and the early part of the 21st century was going up. There's a lot of focus on customer satisfaction. And then it started to go down. And if you look at the numbers, the theory is that the reason it went down is you stopped in the 90s and 2000, you were providing phone service and you could focus on providing better service that way. You had the tools and the focus to improve agents and do quality monitoring and management and process improvement. And then you needed to support email because your customers needed it, so you added email as a silo. And then your customers wanted chat, so you added chat as a silo. And now the customer experience, I'm emailing you, I'm getting a bad experience. I'm chatting with you, I'm getting a bad experience. I'm phoning you and I'm getting a good experience, except you don't know about the emails and the chats that I sent you. Okay? So you want to be able to remove those silos so that the customer is getting a single experience again. And the important thing about this is not just the agent desktop and the agent being able to see, the things that they need to be able to see about the customer, but I need the management tools to be able to manage all those channels, right? Just like I've been managing my contact center, my phone part for years, I need to be able to manage email and chat in a similar fashion. So if I can start to manage all those as a cohesive whole, then your life as a manager or as a call center owner is simpler, your agents' lives are better, and now your customer satisfaction starts to go up. Okay? You also want to make sure that you don't now bolt on SMS and now create a new channel. You need to make sure that when you add on new channels, that all those tools you have in place you can take advantage of, right? And that goes back to the normalization that I talked about. I talked to a lot of organizations that say we're replacing everything in the contact center, and these are projects that go on for years. They're a boil the ocean kind of application, and at the end of the day, they usually don't meet the requirements. They don't deliver the benefit and the ROI that they were intended to deliver because you couldn't do it. It's too hard, right? So if you want to put new applications in the contact center to amalgamate some things, focus and scope. But of our customers, we did a survey, 71% of our customers had a vertical market application, right? Which a lot of you still have a vertical market application. You may also have CRM, but you probably have other applications you deal with, right? Gartner talks about Nirvana is getting down to 3, right? One of our resellers in Canada, where I'm from, if I have said out and about, you've known by now, they love to get their customers down to 4 different desktop applications, okay? So leverage those applications because they're not going to go away on day one. You can identify gaps and coaching moments. If you're looking at all the different interactions and why people are contacting you and looking at repeats, for instance, if I know that a particular agent tends to get a lot of calls for billing credits, and a lot of those people have to call back because it wasn't done properly, I've identified a coaching problem. I can deal with that particular agent to say, hey, let me help you learn how to deal with coaching problems. Okay? If I have problems that are across the board, I have a particular kind of call where there's a lot of repeats, FCR is low. I have a process problem that I need to fix across the contact center. So I can identify those things. So I don't need to say, overall we have a problem with billing problems, so I'm going to train all my agents. I know this agent can use some help in this particular issue, and I can pinpoint that because I've tracked the interaction. Okay? Because I'm tracking that interaction, I eliminate the need for customers to repeat information, right? If I've got an interaction record, I can attach notes. I can transfer it if I have to transfer it, but more importantly, when the customer contacts us again, the agent knows, oh, imagine this, if you called one of your contact center providers, because the great thing about the contact center industry is we're in the industry, but we're all consumers of the service as well. And if you called about a billing problem and the agent picked the phone up and said, hi, thanks for calling. Are you calling about the billing issue that you had last week? Or I see you called us about the same thing 3 days ago, right? That would be great. That would be one of those aha moments, you know. But people can't do that. But if you track the interaction and you give that back to the agent, they'll be able to look and see, oh, they just called us about a billing problem. Or they called us about a billing problem 30 days ago. Reducing the number of interactions that people take to solve a problem, okay? And again, this is giving that information back to an agent because they are the people that are providing the service to your customers. So if they can see that interaction history, they know the customer is called multiple times. And the interesting thing about first contact resolution is the largest category is one and done. The second largest category is 2 calls. The third largest category from the research we've done over the last 10 years is about 10 calls. Right, so when things go off the rails, they really go off the rails. Identifying that information to an agent so that they can actually take the time and not worry about handle time, but get the issue resolved to help that customer. Or as a management team to identify where we have a bad process and we just have to fix it, and that's going to improve and reduce our customers' effort. So what that means to you then is you're going to have more connected customer engagements. People are going to be more engaged with dealing with you. You're going to be able to reduce transfers of calls because that agent has that history and they know a little bit more about you and the interactions that you've had. And by the way, if they do have to transfer a call, it goes with full information so that as a consumer, you're not repeating yourself. Okay. Your focus is on the agent. And I really, I've been doing contact center. I don't know how to run a contact center. I know how to integrate a contact center. I've been doing it for 20 years. But I always look at the agent and what they do. And the number of times where I'm told by management or by the IT group, here's what our agents do. And then you go sit with an agent and they don't do that. Maybe they're supposed to, but there's an easier way or a faster way, and there's a shortcut. And usually what happens is new tools come down the line and you're told, okay, you have to scroll here and open up that web page and click this link, and the agent just like, I'm not going to do that, and it's a pain, and I don't like this. It's overhead. If you make the right thing to do, the easy thing to do, and give them the cool tools that do it for them, that drives agent retention. If you help improve customer satisfaction, if the customer is contacting you for the 3rd time on the same issue, and the agent knows, oh, this guy's probably going to be a little bit upset, and can calm them down very quickly and have a better interaction, that agent's going to be happier. If that agent can have the information they need available to them to resolve the issue and make the customer happy, right, they'll be happier. Agents don't go into work in a foul mood thinking I'm going to piss everybody off. They generally want to help. They just need the tools to help them do it. Okay? All of that will directly improve first contact resolution. First contact resolution, it is still as relevant today as it was 10 years ago. It is still as elusive for many organizations today as it was 10 years ago. But if you're capturing every interaction, you can start to see those histories. You can see those histories across channels. Imagine if you're tracking first contact resolution and the first contact was on a chat, and then the second contact was on a phone call. You have to be able to make those connections together to be able to see what that customer experience looks like. Okay? If you're tracking every interaction, you'll be able to get that information. You can predict the next contact, right? If I have a list of all the interactions that I'm dealing with over 6 months, over a year, I know everybody who's contacting me. I could pretty easily look and say, you know what, this customer is calling for an address change, but a quick database lookup says, well, out of our entire customer base, 73% of people who call us to change an address within 2 weeks will call us back to open a new service. So as an agent, why don't I set that up now? That's proactive customer engagement, and it significantly reduces customer effort. Something you can do if you have that database available with all of the interactions that you've been tracking. And what that allows you to do is personalized customer care. I'll quote my age here with Sam Drucker's General Store on Green Acres, where you could go in and he knew you would be out of flour because you haven't bought flour in a while. And if you have that interaction history, you can now see what the experience is that customer is having. The agent can see the experience that that customer is having and can help that customer to have a better experience. So the things you want to focus on is you want something that is easy for agents to use, something that's going to reduce that overall customer effort, and at the end of the day, improve the business outcome. That's what it's all about. Okay? So I'm Robin with Upstream Works. We're here with Cisco and also with Dimension Data, who is our reseller partner who works also with Cisco. Please drop by, and if you want to find out more, we've got some demos, and thanks for your time. Thank you. I'll give that to you.